Star Wars is a huge and incredible universe filled with amazing stories, with amazing games set in that universe, and also games set in that universe. One such amazing game was Knights of the Old Republic, usually just called KotOR, and KotOR came out in 2003, so there's actually a pretty good chance you've never played it, you've never heard of it, or you've forgotten about it. Back in 2003, around the time this game was released, Lance Armstrong had just won his 5th Tour de France and was considered a hero. SARS was overtaking the world and people were imagining what a pandemic would look like. And the RIAA was filing lawsuits against people who'd downloaded music from Napster.
It was a very different time, Mr. Kim.
Into this world, BioWare released KotOR. BioWare, a studio today known primarily for Mass Effect and Anthem, was at that time known for Baldur's Gate and Neverwinter Nights, two incredibly well-received CRPGs. The company was not yet bought out by EA, and it had a stellar reputation, truly stellar. And people were excited for KotOR. Episode 2 had just come out, and Episode 3 was still a few years away, and rather than making a tie-in for the movies, BioWare was offered the opportunity to make a game set 4,000 years before the films. Such a huge time jump meant that they could take the basis of the universe of Star Wars and throw out all of the...
Over 20,000.
Even Master Yoda doesn't have a midichlorian cut that high.
No Jedi has.
less exciting parts. And the production quality was insane as well. BioWare worked hand in hand with LucasArts, which was not yet part of Disney, and this game had over 300 different characters, 15,000 lines of spoken dialogue, and over 100 voice actors. The music was done by BAFTA award winner Jeremy Soule, and you've heard his music in games like Dota 2, Skyrim, World of Warcraft, and the Harry Potter games. By all accounts, this game was looking and feeling exciting to players. It was a fully licensed Star Wars game with a completely new story. It shouldn't surprise anyone that when the game released, it sold out copies because, oh yeah, Steam didn't really exist yet, so physical copies sold out in 4 days. It was the fastest selling Xbox game at the time and the third highest selling PC game at the time too. It won a bunch of awards for best sound, best writing, best music, best. It even won an award for best character. And HK47 has gone on to show up in at least 4 different games since then.
Definition. Love is making a shot to the knees of a target 120 kilometers away using an Aerotech sniper rifle with a tri-light scope. Statement. This definition, I am told, is subject to interpretation. Obviously, love is a matter of odds. Not many meatbags could make such a shot. And strangely enough, not many meatbags would derive love from it. Yet for me, love is knowing your target, putting them in your targeting reticle, and together achieving a singular purpose against statistically long odds.
It sold millions of copies, even showed up in the Star Wars Clone Wars television show a few times, and Disney still talks about it now and then, even mentioning it as recently as in The Mandalorian and the Rise of Skywalker, Episode 9. I clarify that because I've completely blanked on the names of Episode 8 and 9. They're a muddy blur in my memory. Point being, it is really highly thought of. Classic. KotOR is pretty regularly considered to be one of the best games. Just period. It's that good. But not for the music, or sound effects, or even just some of the characters. No, KotOR is widely loved because of the writing, the story, and specifically, the twist. I know I don't have to do this, but I'm going to say it anyways. Spoilers ahead. Yes, this game came out in 2003, but I really think if you're at all interested in Star Wars or RPGs or, just good video games at all, you should go play this game instead. It takes about 30 or 40 hours to complete, and you can buy it on Steam. It goes as low as $2 during any of those Star Wars sales. so it's totally worth playing. Instead, I won't even be mad that I'm losing a viewer, because it's that great of a game. Here, there's a link in the corner to a video about idle gaming. Go watch that instead. For the rest of us, though, the ones who stay, let's continue on. KotOR starts with you waking up on a starship under attack. You've seen the crawl. It's told you that we're 4,000 years before the events of the movies, that there's a Dark Lord Revan and his apprentice, Darth Malak, and that Malak is the last surviving apprentice. We're told that Malak has unleashed the armies of the Sith on the galaxy and is winning a war to take over. You escape, crash land, and then engage in a search for Bastila, a Jedi character who has the power to influence battles. She has a somewhat unique force power that allows her to improve morale, increase reactions, and sort of shift luck onto her side in a large battle. Malak wants Bastila to either stop the Republic from using her, or to turn her to the dark side and use her himself. You'll escape with Bastila just in time to watch Malak destroy the planet, and then begin a search through the galaxy for a way to stop Malak's superweapon. Essentially, a planet that builds starships with advanced weaponry. You'll visit a bunch of planets, gain a bunch of new companions, and eventually learn the dark truth behind everything. To anyone who's played other BioWare games, that probably sounds super familiar, and it should. Mass Effect was the game BioWare wanted to make, but they couldn't afford it at the time, and they didn't want to use all their best ideas on a Star Wars franchise because they wouldn't own the rights to it. So they took a lot of the mechanics, they took a lot of the basic ideas, and they created KotOR. Further, it's likely to evoke nostalgia for fans of Neverwinter Nights or Baldur's Gate, as the story is essentially the same. And if you are a console gamer who is interested in RPGs, it's likely to have been the first real RPG that you ever played. KotOR and Morrowind really brought RPGs out of the PC-only universe, and it was even ported to iOS and Android later on, so it's a major step forward for the RPG genre. The history that was built in this game was also considered canon, and it served as a reference for the history of Star Wars for a lot of other books, games, everything, really. It was so instrumental and so popular that when Disney essentially killed the entire extended universe and made them all non-canon legends, they still kept a significant amount of KotOR's history. The Mandalorian Wars and the ancient Jedi-Mandalorian conflicts are the main part of this game's plot, and they were continued into the Clone Wars, Rebels, and the Mandalorian. Several planets in the planet's histories were ported directly into The Force Awakens, Resistance, Rebels, the Clone Wars, Star Wars Adventures, and even Rogue One and The Rise of Skywalker Episode 9. Ship design that was unique to the game has shown up everywhere, and one of the hammerhead ships from Dark Lord Revan's fleet shows up in Rogue One in a pretty instrumental way. And you hunt for Sith holocrons throughout the universe in order to find a map to an ancient Sith starship factory. The one in KotOR looks identical to the one in Rise of Skywalker, Episode 9, which is also a map that leads to an ancient Sith starship factory. So yeah, it's pretty influential. And yet none of this is why KotOR is so fondly remembered. Fight Club and The Bourne Identity. These two films are probably the closest to Knights of the Old Republic, but frankly, even they aren't quite right. It's interesting, I was looking for a while for something analogous to KotOR's plot, some Hollywood movie that we'd all know that I could use as a dramatic reveal, but there isn't one. There doesn't appear to be a single Hollywood movie that uses the same plot device. The big reveal of KotOR? Dark Lord Revan and Darth Malak previously were Republic officers, commanders, and war heroes who, during the Mandalorian War, went off and found a secret weapon to destroy the Mandalorians. They took a group of their closest allies, went off outside of space, and came back as Sith Lords. Revan's apprentices all slowly died out, leaving only Malak left. And in a major battle, Malak turned on Revan, destroying his ship and killing him. Except on that ship was a battle master named Bastila, who had convinced the Jedi Council to allow her to send a Jedi strike force to capture Revan. She did capture Revan, and she and the Jedi Council used the Force in a very suspect way to hide and block memories. See, the big reveal?
The Jedi do not believe in killing their prisoners. No one deserves execution, no matter what their crimes.
The Council would not normally accept an adult for training, but this is a special case.
They say the Force can do terrible things to a mind. It can wipe away your memories and destroy your very identity.
Tatooine. Kashyyyk. Manaan. Korriban. Revan visited each of these worlds searching for clues to reveal the hidden location of the Starforge.
The lure of the dark side is difficult to resist. I fear this quest to find the Starforge could lead you down an all too familiar path.
What greater weapon is there than to turn an enemy to your cause, to use their own knowledge against them?
You are Revan. Fight Club's big spoiler, of course, is that Tyler Durden and the narrator are the same person. The Bourne Identity's big reveal is that Bourne was actually a willing and instrumental part of the whole conspiracy. Combining those gets you pretty close to KotOR. See, throughout the game, everyone seems to bend to your whims. You get to train as a Jedi, as an adult, something that isn't done even in the movies. Anakin was too old at like 7, so imagine the Jedi Council agreeing to train someone who's in their mid-30s. And yet, you're incredibly successful in learning how to be a Jedi. Because, of course, you're actually a Sith Lord. In fact, as the player character, you basically decide the fate of the universe. And your will is all that is necessary to create and define the future. This twist, this moment, was huge for many gamers. It's almost an entirely unique twist, and while it was heavily foreshadowed throughout the game, it was still very, very powerful, and the subtlety involved in that foreshadowing is masterful. Not even very savvy players figured out that they were the Dark Lord of the Sith all along, though immediately upon finding out, everyone says, "Man, of course I am. I should have realized all along." It's kind of a beautiful reveal, perfectly unveiled, and with a sense of weight and class that is nearly unmatched in any other twist reveal characters. It fit into the gameplay so well. It explains why the player is so powerful immediately, why the player is so influential, and how events always seem to turn towards the player. It subverts the gameplay that the player is the most important person in the world by making them the most important person in the world, only hidden and forgotten about. The story literally revolves around your character, but you still get to live in that world. You still get to experience the story of fighting against the big bad, and the power of being the big bad all along. Additionally, the reveal works to hide our sense of inconsistency. You could take the plot and hang it out, similar to Nolan's Dark Knight Rises, where it is beyond believable that all of the parts of a plan could work. And yes, it is unbelievable that you could be Revan and not be essentially treated like a celebrity hostage or otherwise the subject of a full-scale assault by Malik in an attempt to solidify and maintain his power base. KotOR is not some paragon of writing virtue, certainly, but the twist, the reveal, is so very good. There is a sequel, and it too has major betrayals and twists and arguably stronger or more impactful twists. KotOR itself has at least one other major plot twist that I am not ruining because it is more personally impactful to your playthrough, but the Revan reveal is stunning. It doesn't change how you play the game. You are not suddenly more powerful or suddenly less important. If anything, all of the effect of the reveal is on you as the player. You get to decide if that reveal is suddenly going to force amnesiac dissonance. The man versus himself fight of the reveal doesn't take place in the game. It takes place in yourself. You get to decide whether or not the values and memories of the old Sith Lord Revan come crashing back into the character, or whether he is truly reformed by his time with the Republic. The conflict of good and evil no longer taking place exclusively external on the screen, but instead inside the player's head and in their actions. There is a rumor that EA is looking to remake or reboot or perhaps create a third installment of KotOR, something that will blend the stories of the new canon from Disney's trilogy and upcoming movies. I hope they do it justice, because I think this is one of gaming's greatest twists, and certainly one that sticks with players for a long time. Remember, YouTube didn't even exist when this game was released, and yet here you are watching a video about it. Speaking of watching a video here on YouTube, did you know that it's really hard to build a small channel into a not so small channel? It's true! You can help. Become a patron or a YouTube member if you're into that. And most importantly, consider sharing this video. It really, really helps. Every single major video success we've had on this channel came from someone just like you. Yes, you. Sharing a video and helping others find our content. Please consider sharing this video because it really helps us out. Did you ever play KotOR? Tell me about your experience. How did you take the twist reveal? Did it shock you? Or were you just so cool and savvy that you knew it all along and it didn't affect you in the slightest? If you'd like to watch another video, there's one in the corner right now. And as always, we'll see you on the next one.